they've come in, first at a bunch of 4PLs and a bunch of smaller tournaments. They have taken on good teams before and won. So it's not like this is an impossible matchup. This is alternate. They're playing together for the first time and have never actually played a competitive game. No, they've been around for a while. So they definitely have a chance. Just looking at the ELO, I just love looking at that 28-17. I just cannot stop staring at that big number. But they're a good team, and we are into picks.
So picks and bans. Fnatic managed to win the coin toss, so they get first ban, first pick this time round. What's the highest elo on the US server, Studio? Come on, you're Mr. Stats and number man. Give us the info.
I want to say that's West Rice. You had it before. Yep, it's still West Rice at 27-39. So not that it means much. F-Lord is above around 80 elo higher than West Rice, even though that means literally nothing.
in the top 0.0000001 percentile of people with that elo rating. So the question is whether or not it's going to be enough to take out Xpeke in this mid lane. Whether or not
he's
elo...
one in a million, I want to say.
One in more than a million, actually. What's it, 34 or 35 million registered players?
True. Then again, that does not ranked is weird because you have I think only 500,000 who play out in North America. People don't play ranked because it's stressful for a lot of people. So I can see why. But bans coming out from Fnatic, Soraka, and Ari, and Karthus for alternate. Are you surprised by any of these bans?
None at all. None at all. Karthus, in fact, has been a targeted ban towards Fnatic in several different cups and tournaments. I mentioned it in a little bit of the build-up, but we casted a King of the Hill event on Monday this week, and every single game somebody banned Karthus against Fnatic. So, I don't know if maybe Xpeke has been playing it a lot in the solo queue or in those rank ladders. I haven't had a chance to actually double check, but yeah, removed. And Alistair now coming back into the flavor of the month as far as bans are concerned. He's been playing in the jungle quite a lot over here in EU, and yeah, for the first time in a long time, seeing him banned consistently in most of the high-ranked games I've casted.
Now, that has to do with two things. One, Cyanide is a really good jungler, and two, the bot lane for Fnatic has actually always been really scary. But they're bringing back Tristana, they're using Alistar to do it. This kind of, breaks up the Alistar Tristana bot lane we've been seeing from Fnatic, and I don't know, they just have really good support play with Alistar, but we're seeing Melisande instead of Phaliox, so I don't know if that'll be quite the significant ban they're hoping for on alternate.
And something interesting, something to just throw at you quickly, Fnatic banned Nautilus. They had first pick, and we know Cyanide plays a phenomenal Nautilus, so, obviously not wanting to run Nautilus this game and removing him from the pool.
Now, they first picked Nocturne, and I love Nocturne, but it seems there's a new bug coming out where he might just kind of stop mid-air while using his ultimate. I hope that doesn't come into play just because you hate to see bugs affect this, but, Fnatic, they did pick him knowing that's a possibility. The same bug that affects Lee Sin and Maokai right now.
Oh, I haven't actually seen that one. So Ultimate at the moment hovering over Urgot, and this was a couple of bans which Fnatic were removing quite consistently on Monday night against Curse, removing Soraka and Urgot every single match. Available this time around, and he manages to get picked up, and I'll be super excited if the Skarner gets locked in. I'm such a fan of the champion, albeit he's not, I don't want to say the strongest of junglers, because fairly easily kiteable, and as long as your positioning is correct, it's quite easy to avoid that impale. But yeah, it is going to get locked in, and we're going to see Skarner this time around.
I want to say it was Snoopa who said this, but I may be wrong. And this was about a recent game between clg, and Moscow 5, and it was who plays Skarner, because Diamond Brox picked up Skarner, something he's been doing lately, and apparently just tore house. So Skarner really coming back into play in small little areas. Moscow 5, they can do what they want, so who knows if he'll be consistent, but he's good at jungling, he's fast, and his early level ganks are actually amazing.
Well, that's interesting, because about 3 weeks ago, when I was still watching quite a few of the Moscow 5 games, leading up to DreamHack and a couple of the different online cups, I think it was the Medion Challenge was another one of them. Moscow 5 or Diamond Prox was running Skarner, but it didn't impress very much. They lost against a couple of teams that maybe they shouldn't have been losing to, and that could have probably just been the testing, the trial phase, working up, getting a feel for him, what runes, what masteries, what sort of timing and playstyle you can pull. So if Diamond Prox has managed to perfect that, it's going to be another aggressive jungler, which he can just add to his extensive repertoire at the moment. But Taric Ash being locked in, and I quite like that combination as well.
I do. I mean, Tarek is normally seen as an aggressive, bot laner, but honestly, his heal, if you can manage your mana, if you cannot take too much rest in the bot lane, his heal is good enough to let you survive. And I do like something about Lamia. He knows how to play a wide variety of AD characters. We can see him pick up Graves, we can see him pick up Corki, but he likes to run Ashe, he likes to run Tristan, he likes to run these otter picks just because A, people aren't quite so used to playing against them. Ashe, not super common, more common in EU, but still not that often seen.
Yeah, not that popular. Lamia,
Yeah.
of course, I think he's got more pentakills with Ashe in competitive play than anybody else. I stand to be corrected. I've actually shoutcasted one of those, and we do see a Gragas being locked in. Yes! I hope this is not a bug or an error. The fat man is back.
Do I have anyone from alternate on my friends list? I have to check this. I actually do not. Crap. Crap.
I think
Huh.
I may. I think I may. I'm gonna.
I'm just gonna, yeah, we have to double check that. I love Gragas. Gragas is fantastic, okay. They did not know their mid pick, that's what makes it scary. TF is not too effective at Gragas, so that will be a pretty cool pick. Also, we have Kale being selected. But Gragas, he has a problem early game. If he had a good early game, he would be one of the best characters in the game. Alright, casting, that makes a bit of sense. More sense than just a bait.
Well, I've just asked Pharrell Lord and Cliff whether or not the Gragas is the actual pick. We'll see if they're going to come back. And yeah, it apparently seems so. Pharrell Lord, a little bit of attitude. Did we say something? Implying that that is the actual pick. So it is going to be a Gragas versus Castan in the mid lane. I love what I'm seeing as well because this is going to be a Kayle in the top lane. Soaz rocking out the Kayle. And I think they used Kayle against Curse earlier in the week as well to a pretty good effect. Who do you put against Kayle? If you're in alternate attack shoes now, who do you put against that champion in the top line?
Going up against Kale's weird because part of it is just knowing how the matchup works, which is when she has Rage's Fury up, she will destroy you because, the 20 extra magic damage at level 1 is insane. She also has pretty decent attack damage stats. So part of it is just the knowledge. If Alternate knows how to play this matchup, it'll be effective. The other part is like, who do you put up against her? And that's something I'm not too sure about, actually. A lot of the traditional top laners are very close range, very melee. So someone like Cho'Gath, I actually don't know how effective Cho'Gath will be. That is a weird team. This is a very Season 1 team, except for the Urgot and Skarner. This is an
old school.
Awesome team. Yeah.
Going old school. And seeing Ashe and Kassadin as your AP and your AD carry, that's also a little bit more old school. Kassadin went out of favor for quite a long time, in fact. And only, being picked up by sort of fringe champions or fringe roster lineups. But we are going to see that swapped around. Flash heal on... Oh, that was Lamia. Sorry, that was a bit silly. I thought Kassadin was running flash heal. I was going to say that's a bit unique, but I was mistaken. And no heal in the bot line for Ultimate. Double flash exhaust.
They don't really need... Well, okay, double exhaust is going to be kind of odd. They don't necessarily need a heal, though. And if they do expect Lamia to not run cleanse, then they can actually get away by having to exhaust, because if Lamia ever gets swapped in, he will die. But I actually really like Alternate's team. So they're very good at displacement. We have Urgot, Gragas, and Skarner, who can displace the enemy, just move them where they want to move them. Oh, Janna, too.
Yep.
Janna will be hard-pressed to do that aggressively, though. So they can reset a fight at a whim, pretty much. They can really control the fights well. They just don't have very consistent damage. Like, Skarner will hurt, Gragas will hurt. Those are pretty hard-to-land skill shots. And they have fairly long cooldowns for the burst. For example, Cho'Gath's Rupture, Gragas' Q. That takes some time. So if they run into a situation where they, pick off 2 people instantly, they'll be in a good spot. But, like, let's say they only pick off 1 person, then Fnatic might just have the sustained damage with the, Ashe, with that Kayle and Nocturne to really go ahead and survive. And that Kayle pick might actually have totally screwed over Alternate because they have a lot of single-target bursts, especially on Cho. But the perfect Kayle ult will be devastating.
And we'll have to see whether or not Soaz can actually get that off or get it well timed. Kayle, of course, only really coming into the top-level competitive scene effectively a month ago. I mean, like tops. So, still feeling him out, learning all the bugs and whatnot. And the only reason I say that, maybe being a little bit harsh, but from the games that I watched Soaz playing on Kayle, it just felt a little bit unpracticed. Watching him play some of the other champions, he's done a little bit better. But take a look at the rune page for Anzo's Skarner. full attack speed, 25 armor, and 25 magic resist. So just rocking out pure attack speed on that Skarner, getting that passive of his down, reducing the cooldown on his spells.
And it looks like Cliff is actually going to be using an Irelia rune page. I say this because the rune page is named Irelia. And looking at it, this is a kind of cool Cho'Gath page. So HP 5 for the quintessences. Then, normal tankiness with the armor yellows. MR per level blues, nothing weird there. Then physical damage reds. So we might actually see something that has come into play every now and then, which is maxing out Vorpal Spikes first, just because it actually is a lot of damage, and if you put points into it, it scales quite a bit. So that could be just, a very aggressive side-pushing build because it costs no mana. Or it could have just been, I want to be able to attack well, which is weird against Kale. That's the weird part. Because Kale will not ever be in melee range if she can avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I just took a look at Xpeke's runes as well. Super, super, super aggressive. Plus 15 AP at level 1 and up to 45 AP at level 18. Plus 8.5 magic pen. And the only reason I point that out, the last time I seen him playing Kassadin, he was facing off against a Ari in the mid lane. And he opted to go for health regen runes. And at level 1 with his masteries and the rune page, it was something like 13 HP per 5 at level 1. He just perma-farmed and was staying at the same farm level as Ari, compliments of all that HP regen. Camp back a little bit. Correct me if I'm wrong, potions only give you 10 per 5.
Yes.
So it's crazy, crazy, crazy rune page, and it worked out. He managed to get farm. He didn't manage to, pick up any kills early on, but the farm helped, and I love it. Esquire Gragas with his, I think it's a port bottle, isn't it, if I recall correctly?
My knowledge of wine bottles is very limited. I've always been a beer or liquor type of person. The quick story of how I learned to drink wine was I was at a party once, and I drank wine for the first time like I drank bad beer, which was to chug it as quickly as possible. So when I chugged a glass of wine that couldn't have cost more than, I'd say, for the entire bottle, maybe $2 or $3, it was the worst experience of my life. So I do not drink wine for that reason.
Well, you drank terrible. Ooh, wrong button. Sorry about that, guys. I've moved my overlays for this presentation. So that's the overlays up. You will see Fnatic Raid Call wearing the blue trunks. Alternate attacks wearing the red trunks. I think that's their team color as well. So quite nice for alternate. And boots pots across the board, except for the Meki pendant on Urgot and the regrowth pendant on Skarner. So probably an early Philosopher's Stone. It's not unusual on that particular champion.
Going for the Manamune on Urgot would actually be very unique. You don't see that a whole lot. You normally see Brutalizer into maybe Frozen Heart. I actually wonder how that's going to work out, because normally you want Urgot for the tankiness, but they do have Skarner, they do have Cho'Gath, so that front line is there. And I was going to say something important is Kassadin can destroy Gragas, actually. I forgot about that.
Well, we'll have to see just how effective Xpeke can actually do in that mid lane. But another thing to touch on, you mentioned the tankiness, you mentioned the disruption, but there's a lot of protection and a lot of displacement abilities to keep people away from Urgot. You've got the explosive cask, the Howling Gale, the Rupture, Impale, Monsoon. Even if somebody does get close, as you mentioned right at the beginning of the game, there are so many things Alternate can do to either set up a kill or force everybody away to defend themselves. If Monsoon isn't enough, you've got Explosive Cask. If Explosive Cask isn't enough, you've got Howling Gale. And if timed and placed correctly, they can be used offensively, but they're mostly, with timing and position can go either way, really,
I really want to see how they play this out, because I think there's a lot of cool potential, but there's also a lot of confusion, like, well, what if they need Urgot to ultimate, but he has a Manamune and he's too squishy? But at the same time, they have so many skills, like he said, they don't need that ultimate. What will be scary is going to be landing Cho versus Kale, I don't know about, and then of course, the reason Kassadin can destroy Gragas is because if Kassadin ever uses his silence, Gragas cannot explode a barrel while that silence is on him. So if he tosses out a barrel and that silences him at the same time, he's pretty much screwed for 2 seconds. Of course, Kassadin can always just, ultimate away from any sort of Gragas ultimate.
So I'm going to see how this one plays out. Xpeke already putting down that null sphere onto Pharrell Lord, but he's replenished it just yet. And both champions needs a couple of levels before their burst really starts to hit pretty hard. And interestingly, actually, both champions being melee. So in terms of last hitting, they both have to get in melee range. And I suppose that's going to play off in Gragas' favor a little bit if he can get that quick QQ combo down, you know, exploded before the silence goes off. But farm-wise, Gragas, of course, once he gets a few levels into that explosive barrel of his, will be able to clear waves much quicker than Xpeke can with Kassadin.
And it actually looks like we have some aggression coming out in the top lane. Looks like Scar is going to go for this gank.
So double buff Unzo, blue and red buff. The Rupture does land. That's going to land straight up onto Soaz. He's going to probably get onto this First Blood. Flash very aggressive. The Unspeakable Horror is going to pull him right backwards. In fact, First Blood goes onto Cho'Gath. Soaz somehow gets away with his life. And I'm going to call it right now, luckiest top laner, or most skilled top laner. Because we've seen him do that against Curse. They did a very aggressive dive at level 3. He was playing Darius, not only managed to pick up First Blood, but picked up a double kill a little bit later from another dive. How on earth did Soaz get away with that?
That was the luckiest fear. The fear took him right back into the turret, and it's unfortunate, but there's a 50% chance that Cho'Gath would have walked right out of that.
So lucky, but nevertheless, First Blood on Soaz. That's going to push him in the lane. And look at mid lane. Xpeke being forced really far back. Is it affecting his CS? 9 to 15, so an entire creep wave lost already. And he's down to his last hit point that's busy ticking over. And of course, the Drunken Rage, that's going to keep Pharrell Lord a little bit up. Keep tossing up that mana a little bit. And his passive Happy Hour, that's going to give him, it's a small number of health, you know, 17 for each ability. But when you consider Drunken Rage is free, it's effectively 17 hit points every 20 seconds, you know?
Yep. And something I forgot to factor in was that Gragas does have that Drunken Rage, which increases his attack damage. So that might have actually caught Xpeke off guard. Eventually, Gragas has 107 attack damage at level 3. So I don't think he expected the AD to come out and he just started getting bursted on by Gragas. He's just like, I'm a big fat alcoholic. I'm going to beat you up now. Which is something no one ever wants to see.
No, they do not. So at the moment, early game advantage a little bit in favor of Fnatic. Compliments of picking up that First Blood. Soaz opting to finish his Berserker's Greaves instead of going for the early Doran's Blades. And we'll have to see how that plans out. I suppose that makes a lot of sense. It gives him the ability to juke and dodge those Ruptures. And that's really, it's going to mitigate a lot of the damage that can be put down, or that, you know, crowd control that can come out.
A lot of Kale's defensiveness is actually just her mobility with the Divine Blessing, giving an 18% movement speed. That's what's going to save her from a Skarner game. The fact that she's just moving so quickly, you cannot catch her. So I like the Berserker's Greaves. I like that they're not going for raw HP, because that's not what's going to save him in any sort of event.
In actual fact, touching on that point, Fnatic's lineup is very kite heavy. Ashe, Kassadin, Kayle, they're all, you know, they need to be moving and being out of direct damage in order to keep putting their damage down. And if they do get caught out, if these displacement abilities are timed correctly, that could screw them up a bit, because, you know, Ashe, Kassadin, and Kayle can be bursted down quite hard. And if they, you know, get the AoE burst, I say the word burst, you know, you've got the explosive cast, which is a lot, the explosive barrel, which hurts quite hard. If Rupture manages to catch 2 or 3, that ultimate, that intervention's only going to protect one champion, and for a fairly short duration as well. It's only, what's it, I think 3 or 4 seconds at max rank?
I think it's 2 to 3 actually, so a really short duration ultimate. It's all going to be about whether alternate can catch multiple people with or displacement. If they just catch one person into an Urga ultimate, Kayle can save them. They may just not have the damage afterwards to actually win a fight. If they catch a bunch of people, if 2 people get hit by a Rupture, that could be a fight right there.
And there's the mid lane, so nicely done. As Pharrell is using that body slam to fly forward, Xpeke just tossed out the Null Sphere, silenced him, so no more barrels, no explosive cast. It actually looked like Pharrell was trying to set up a explosive cast ultimate. Oh, we do see some aggression now. There goes the Rift Walk into silence. Cyanide coming backwards. Body slam actually, I think that was whiffed. The Fear may have turned him a direction. I didn't see if the Spell Shield caught the body slam or not.
Neither did I actually. Like, I was watching it, like, that looked weird.
Yeah, but you know, the Fear proc went off. Pharrell moved to the right-hand side, but the Spell Shield appeared to fizzle. So either way, the body slam didn't land. There was no slow, and I think there was a silence on, well, the Fear on Pharrell meant that no ultimate could throw Nocturne back into his teammate.
So Xpeke just did something awesome when Friendslord tried to use his Drunken Rage and drink. He actually interrupted it with Null Sphere, something people forget you can do. You can interrupt Gragas' Drunken Rage. You don't get the damage reduction, and you only get about half the mana. if it does get interrupted. So a very quick play, a very nice play. And we have the gank coming bottom from Skyner, but he is spotted by a ward, and they'll just walk on out of that bot lane.
Flash and Impale is available for Unzo, so we may see some aggressive dives or some slightly more aggressive play. And I'm trying to see, when did Fnatic pick up their blue buff? I know Cyanide started at red, and there we go, 7 minutes 50. So
Right now.
yeah, a little bit delayed on that blue buff. Oh, there comes the flash. Impale manages to land as well. I think that stun went out a second too late. Lamia is now trying to get away. Exhaust is down. One more Acid Hunter may be enough. The Acid Hunter is on ticking. Down to 40. The final Acid Hunter will pick it up. I actually thought the duration on that Terra capacity... No, not the Terra, the corrosive charge had worn out, but it was just enough time, and Moonilol evens up the score 1-1.
I'd say corrosive charge never lasts like an okay amount of time. It's always just too short or just too much. It is such a dramatic skill for getting those last hits on champions, and just a good flash impale there. Something we see a lot in solo queue, where it's just like, oh, I forgot about flash impale. That was just good distance covering from Unso, knowing just the right moment to get in there.
Yeah, so really nice. And the max range on that ability, you actually seen the Taric animation for that dazzle going out. Ooh, a little bit of aggression there from Expectia. The silence goes down. Doesn't really have enough mana to continuously Rift Walk, but looking to bug Forellan Lord, looking to just frustrate him. And I think he actually prevented him doing the rates there with that little Rift Walk into Null Sphere.
Next speaker, by the way, really scary for Gragas right now. He does have that Ignite, so that true damage will take him fairly low. F-Lord just using abilities right now to regain HP. Something cool you do with Gragas, just spam your body slam. Don't get into a risky position while it's down, of course, and you will be safe. You will be getting HP back. Blue buff going towards X-Beacon now, so I really like that F-Lord will try and buy. Nope, he's just going to go do race.
And take a look at this from Soaz Nice. Looking like maybe he wants to take a dive. Takes one tower hit. Just landing that auto attack and backing off. Auto attack and backing off. But Cliff opting to rank up the silence, his Feral Scream, above any of his other abilities.
Feral Scream is almost guaranteed harass just because it's so hard to miss, so I can understand it. But it does have a long cooldown. When a fight goes down, he's just going to have that silence. And of course the CC from Rupture, but not much damage, which you don't normally need on Cho'Gath, so I can understand it. It just may come back to bite them if he's the last person alive.
Cyanide camping in this top lane for a little bit. I think he's just allowing Soaz to harass Cliff down, and unfortunately he's effectively just wasted a minute of his time, because Cliff is now considering recalling, thinking about going back. There's a full wave in front of him, and now he's double checking, or double thinking that. In the middle lane, some pressure from Expectia onto Forellan Lord. But look at the CS in the top lane. 30 CS difference already. 51 to 84. 600 gold already just from farm.
I mean, that early death was huge. Actually, the Nocturne ultimate comes out. Will the Fear land?
It does manage to land. Ignite now goes down. Cyanide, compliments of that intervention, manages to tank the tower for a couple of hits longer, and Soaz picks up a fairly easy kill at the end of the day. But the very, very tanky Cho'Gath took quite a while to go down. That single Doran's Blade, just not enough damage to really melt his HP bar.
I mean, Cho'Gath, even if he did have an early death, it's still hard to kill. Unfortunately, that one death at the beginning of the game was just massive. When Kayle gets ahead, there's almost no real easy way to stop her. How do you stop a Kayle as Cho'Gath? You can try farming the creep waves, she can push those down just as quickly with Righteous Fury, though. You cannot get in close range to attack her because she's ranged. So, it's a matchup that would have been, I think, much more equal had Kayle not gotten a tiny bit ahead. But with that first blood, with that kill, that was enough to just make it a hard lane where Cho'Gath did not have the mana to sustain or to farm.
We do see that Dragon goes the way of alternate down in that bottom lane. Unzo's picked up a fairly early Oracle's Elixir. So he's going to be running around trying to clear out those wards. If you pick up an early Oracles, you do have to clear out all of those wards near the river and try to take some Dragon control, which they have done quite nicely. And of course, by seeing Nocturne in the top lane, it meant there was no Paranoia Smite potential for steal or anything along those lines. So not bad. But look at the build here for Urgot. Moonilol opting to go for that Brutalizer, Meki Pendant, and Chain Vest. So it looks like he's building for raw stats as opposed to actual complete items.
I think that Meki Pendant might have just been to have mana in the early game. If you don't see it built into a tier quickly, then it's not going to be too effective just because you need to build up the mana stacks, you need to build up the mana Moona stacks. So that had to be just for early game harassment. The Brutalizer is going to be into a Frozen Heart, which is a much more standard build on Urgot.
Anzo moving forward with that little crystalline exoskeleton of his. It looked like he was trying to set up a slow, oh, beautiful explosive cast. That pulls Soaz backwards. Now, the intervention does go down a few seconds before. He has the ignite ticking over, flashes away. That heal of his keeping alive for quite a while. Now, expecting the one that's in trouble. He actually fail flashes into the wall. Are we going to see a little bit of a chase? And no, Kale eventually goes down after that one. But really nicely played by Pharrell and Lord and the rest of Alternate. Realizing they can catch him out of position. The body slam didn't actually land the slow, but it wasn't needed because explosive cast tossed him all the way back into the welcoming arms of Skarner.
Alcohol kills.
Alcohol. I like that one.
Unfortunately, and actually to the sad truth, that's a completely different issue. Unfortunately, they use every flash on their team except Fizz. I'm having trouble with that name. And we didn't have any, pressure coming on the bottom lane. So Lamia got some free farm. If you look at the CS difference bot lane, he's ahead by 20 CS. That was a good kill, but unfortunately it wasn't just a pure clean. We got total advantage out of that. There was some free farm in the bot lane, and so many flashes used that right now Cyanide can more or less go crazy, and there's no escape aside from, Gragas being Gragas. Gragas being Gragas is the best escape.
Oh, we do see a very nice aggressive walk there. The Paranoia, Rift Walk, even the Ash Arrow coming up, if that wasn't enough, flying right over the corpse of the dead fat man. And really, really good dive there, knowing exactly how much damage they can actually do. This ward in the bottom lane now puts Lemisan in trouble. Melisan, rather, not Lemisan in trouble. The hyperkinetic position reverser is available, but Lamia gets in just at the last second there to deter that ultimate. But a really, really nice gank from Cassidy and Nocturne in the mid lane.
Yeah, that was actually really cool. I guess Gragas being Gragas isn't a good defense when Nocturne's ultimate will track him through Body Slam. He needed to wait to Body Slam, but if he had waited, Cyanide would have gotten really close to him. He probably would have still gotten the fear off. He was more or less in a bad position just because he didn't have the HP or really the mana to survive that. I do not believe he had enough mana for his ultimate at that time.
Now, I've got a question for you regarding the play over in US. Are your AD carries reverting back to the Bloodthirster?
Bloodthirster Phantom Dancer is the new popular build. It's actually the ult that comes onto Melisandre, but there's XP as follow-up. Looks like everyone will just walk away from each other in that bot lane. There's a quick little, I'm just gonna hit you. Okay, alright, let's...
It's a love tap. It's a love tap. But I'm seeing more and more I love it, but no, that's, no.
Something else. Something not for this stream.
But I'm seeing now more and more commonly the Bloodthirster being built, and specifically on Graves, in fact, players actually opting to go for the Bloodthirster into the Last Whisper. Now, it makes sense on a champion like Graves because collateral damage and buckshot, of course, scale or physical damage. They deal physical damage, so the armor penetration makes them more effective. Volley deals physical as well, so I can sort of see something, applying there somewhat, but you don't really consider Ashe a burst champion. And oh, Melisandre is in so much trouble. Manages to walk past the body slam. His explosive cast, but a beautiful flash. Unfortunately, a push forward from Ferelin means that Ashe Arrow completely whiffs. Exhaust has now been put down onto Mooney Lol. The damage is really, really huge. Now the exhaust onto Lamia is going to save him. Does he have flash available to move forward? In fact, the Rift Walk is that Force Pulse is going to be all that's required. Silence now goes out into Fish, and look at that chunking off the damage. But a really nice counter kill from Fnatic when they were the ones that were initiated upon.
Fish actually with, I want to see what his room page is, kind of greedy. Only 32 MRs at floor, what are you doing?
Managed to completely bait that one. Anzo, no Impale available, compliments of the Love Impale onto Taric a little bit earlier. Duskbringer manages to almost catch Janna. They've decided to commit to this dive. Cyanide is tanking for quite a while. Now I'm going to keep moving forward. That was a dazzle stun onto Anzo in the background. Cyanide still tanking just long enough to get away with his health. Fnatic, how are you mitigating all of that damage? What must your communication sound like to go, no, I've got 2 more turrets. Don't worry, bro. We've got this, There was no panic, no stress. It was just calm and collected.
I mean, that's how you have to do these tower dives. They're very emotional when you do them, in a game. But when you're coordinated as a team, when you're saying, all right, we can take X hits. Well, not X hits, but you eventually feel what you can take. And if you're just using that saying, I have to go out now, your team was like, all right, we know that. We will respond appropriately. We'll have someone tank. We will, back out if we need to. That was a really cool, almost a surgical strike of a tower dive.
Yeah, it was so well played. And specific mention has to go to Cyanide on Nocturne. He pulled the tower aggro. He was probably the player that actually called it, let's go, let's go. He was tanking the town for a couple of hits. When the remainder of his team pushed forward, who were all very low, I mean, bar for Ashe. Ashe had high hit points, but Taric and Cassidy both on low hit points. And he stuck around. You know, he allowed his teammates to pick up the kill into Anzo. Then he tanked, you know, 1 or 2 additional tower hits and fell backwards, at which point Lamia started taking over the tower dive, or the tower damage. So really nicely done. Melisande now managed to get impaled before the dazzle lands. He is going to get blown up, stands to survive a long time, but actually eats not only the impale, but the explosive cast as well. And a lot of abilities used just to kill the Heart of Gold Philo Stone Taric.
He did have an Oracle's Elixir, and they will pick up Dragon. Top tower, will it go down? Maybe. I'm looking like a yes if they don't have a quick retreat. So it was worth it at the end, but they're not too threatening now. And like, look at XPK. Is he scared of Cho'Gath? No, he can dodge his Rupture. Is he scared of Unso? No, because he has no Impale. So the fear is not there anymore.
There goes the slow. Look at the damage from a full combo. That's going to chunk about half the health. Now they're going to commit to this dive. Intervention is not available. Now it has been used. In fact, so is the one that's tanking the tower. That's going to be a problem. The feast goes down. Cassidy unfortunately gets picked off. A little bit of mistiming on that damage. Now Soaz is going to get picked off as well. So a 1-for-2 exchange at the end of the day. Just a little bit of mistiming.
If that last tower dive was a surgical strike, this was a carpet bombing.
Cyanide is going to probably be able to pick up this kill. Actually, the support of Pharrell and Lord and Anzo is now going to chase him away. Flash into the counter flash from Cyanide. If Body Slam had landed, it may have been enough. The explosive cast pushes him into a wall, holds him for a few seconds. While all of that is going on, there is a kill in the bottom lane, so I'm going to hit that backspace once just to see exactly how that played out. And it did lead with an Ash Arrow onto Mooney Lol. Dazzle does land as well as Radiance, and a very easy kill, in fact, for Lamia and Melisande. Oh! Flash into the last auto attack was in fact required. But nicely done. And I'm going to put on that director camera and fast forward to real time.
Not too much has happened in that time. So Cyanide may actually just be the linchpin for the dives, actually. Because we watched that dive in the top lane, XP get backed off, and then the ultimate landed on him from Soaz. So they clearly had 2 different goals there. And they did eventually go for the dive, but Soaz backed off as XPK went in. All of a sudden, XPK died to more or less just a Cho'Gath ultimate. And then afterwards, the follow-up from Soaz came up, and at that point, Alternate was there, ready to react. So, it's very, very chaotic.
Well, we do see another aggressive dive in this bottom lane. Fishes the target. In fact, they're going to blow up Mooney Lol first. Exhaust goes down into Lamia. Finally, the position reverser comes out. That's going to be a little bit too little too late. Impale is available. Going to hold Lamia and immediately Quicksilver sashed away. Brilliant itemization coming out from Fnatic's AD carry. They pick up another great tower dive on this bottom lane. And now that Pharrell has joined the party, Cassidy is going to go 1-to-1 against him. He's got that Riftwalk available to jump over the cliff if he needs to. And Fnatic are going to consider this dive. Intervention is available. It may need to be used, but expect here Riftwalks to safety. Tower, in fact, goes down, and eventually the kills are going to come from that one. But the point that I said right at the beginning of the game was exactly what we've seen in that top lane, that carpet bombing of a tower dive. Soaz just a little bit too hyperactive or too energetic with that intervention ultimate. And if we'd waited just a second later to took 1 tower shot and then used it, they could have been able to pick up the kill and potentially escape. You know, Lamia or Expeke could have run away a little bit sooner, a little bit earlier. But on the bottom lane, we go back to coordinated control tower dives, and Fnatic have a 4,000 gold lead at this point in the time.
So truly the key to this is diving when Cyanide is nearby. And actually Melisande himself is an amazing character to dive with just because of the armor bonus. So if you're near him, you're getting plus 30 armor. So right now, Cyanide 105, that's decent. But the 135 he has when he's diving under a turret near a turret, that is much more effective at stopping that damage. If you notice, they are not taking a whole lot of tower damage. They're pretty much just soaking it up, going whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Every single one of them has taken a long time to go down when they do actually get focused. I took a look at Peke's itemization at the moment. He's got his Archangel Staff completed, 384 bonus mana, 232 AP already, in comparison to the 156 of his counterpart. And you've seen the burst that he's putting down. That Force Pulse is actually clearing out the caster minions with a single usage right now.
That is an aggressive build, and it's proven to be effective.
Yeah, 3-1-2, 3-2-1 on Soaz. Other than Lamia having assists, you know, the solo mid and solo top are doing very well. But Alternate and I are going to siege down this mid tower. Oh, we do see an aggressive come out. Now Unzo, he's taken so much damage. The Asaro manages to catch Mooney lol. Unzo's going to be the first one to fall down. Kill Critic goes to Cyanide and Nocturne. Second one is picked up by Soaz there in the background. Riftwalk has now a double kill coming out from Cyanide. Are we going to see a triple kill? Riftwalk into the final. Force Pulse means a 4-man kill for Fnatic. And Cliff on that Cho'Gath walking backwards, knowing he's not going to be able to defend this tower, and knowing that Fnatic have just gone tower diving all day long, he's just going to recall and forego this mid tower.
Yeah, Cliff will not be hanging around just to prevent that death at the turret. And I have to say the coordination from Fnatic is just there. They're letting the Ashe ultimate. They know they have that displacement, but they're initiating in such a way that they cannot use it. So Mooney Lol starts out that fight CC. The rest of the team is trying to retreat. Janet ultimate can only push back one person, or she will be at risk of dying just to the burst from XPK. F-Lord, he might have been able to Gragas Barrel there, but it was still... Who does he land on? Who does he push out? Who does he push in? Because he wasn't in really a spot to do both. And oh my god, the intervention blocking the Cho'Gath ult so much burst that the XP just got saved from.
Oh, keep in mind though that Cliff did not actually use that. The Baron Nashor does end up going to Fnatic, so they don't lose that one. They picked up 2 kills for it in exchange. Fish is going to be the third. That's a double kill for Xpeke. He's got a little bit of mana. The regen is up. Silence goes out into Pharrell and Lord. But yeah, the Cliff's ultimate, I don't know if it was prevented or silenced, but he ended up not being used. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands onto Mooney lol. 256 crit, 256 crit. Another kill going down for Fnatic. This time, Melisande joins the party. He says, thank you very much. 2-2-11 on that support. And this is probably GG for game number 1 to Fnatic.
And I don't actually know about the ultimate. Sometimes it does get used, sometimes it doesn't. Kale's ultimate has been changed, so some skills will not get burned on it when it is up. This was a long time ago, and nobody ever really calculated what skills that is. Oh my god, deciding he did not want to live. Oh, the surrender vote has come out.
So
a good final kill from alternate.
Great to pull that one back. So it's a 17-6 scoreline right at the end there. Peke, good guy Peke, offering up his life as a little bit of a, I don't know what the term would be, a friendship offering, as it were. There's your final game score, 17-6, 4-0-5 on Cyanide, 2-1-11 support Melisande. But Soaz and Peke playing so well with those carries. There's not much to add, really.
Yeah, I mean, they played well. The picks were not really there for alternate. I like that they chose those characters. I like those characters, but Fnatic more or less had a team to counter it. We did see the barrel being undetonatable. That a word? Nope.
It is now. It is now.
Okay. But it could not be detonated because of the silence from Kassadin. Cho'Gath, his ultimate was apparently just briefly stopped by that kill ultimate, and just the lane wasn't there. And eventually bot lane just kind of collapsed because the Ashe ultimate and the pressure from a Nocturne was enough to just go ahead and shut down that lane. So very well played from Fnatic. Their picks were just solid. Their picks were there. And alternate, they did go for some alternate picks, really, but it did not prove to be too effective. They need to find out what didn't work and change it up. The displacement was cool, but they cannot run so much displacement that they don't have really any sort of consistent CC. Yeah,
that's very true. So game number 1 does go in favor of Fnatic Red Call. This is, of course, a best of 3 games, so potential 2 more games coming up. Before we get into this, though, we do have to have an advert break, so we'll be back very shortly.